What's going on for today's video? It's going to be an Alien Earth video. I wanted to talk about how Wendy is the real monster in Alien Earth. After the season 1 ending, hell of a cliffhanger, by the way. I wanted to talk about Wendy's character arc and where she's probably going to go in season 2 if this show does get greenlit, because we haven't heard anything. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So let's get right into it. In Wendy's head, the real monsters are not the 5 specimens in the lab. It goes beyond the 5 corporations being the monsters, as the title of the last episode insinuates. The irony is the most invasive species in the series is humanity. Wendy starts to realize that if this is what it means to be human, she doesn't want to be a part of it. Why is she trying to keep her humanity? Kirch is right. Being human is inferior to what she is now. So she has this internal struggle throughout the series. In order to understand why Wendy is the real behemoth, I want to go over a few scenes that explain her most recent behavior. The first time we ever see her is as Marcy, and she is looking at an arachnid trapped in a fishbowl. Kirch treats Marcy with like a sort of gentleness. After all, she is still human. She still has emotions. From the outset, he starts to plant little seeds in her head. The idea is about not squashing the scorpion because it could have another scorpion friend that would want to protect it. Kirch also wants Marcy to consider how the scorpion feels being trapped in a fishbowl with giants looking at it. Even though this specific animal, the science so far says that they are driven by instinct and not emotions or feelings, but you know, that's a story for another time. By the end of the lesson, she has a change of heart and tells him not to kill the scorpion. This foreshadowing scene might seem insignificant at first, but it gives you a clue of how her character will empathize and have compassion for the 5 specimens. When Marcy is going through the transition of becoming a hybrid, she is constantly told how special she is because she's the first of her kind, a pioneer in science and human evolution. Boy Cavalier compares her to Neil Armstrong because she will be the first to transition from a human body to a synthetic one. When someone makes you feel special, it triggers something physiologically and even psychologically that makes you want to stay in that environment. This makes Wendy and the kids want to stay in Neverland even though they miss their parents.
Yeah, see my mom.
No, they'll get mad and might send us away, and I like it here.
Me too. I mean, we get respect here, and they've made us into something.
Yeah.
Wendy sits with Kirch and Dame Sylvia after the transition. She has no emotions and therefore no feelings. Wendy says, "If I'm not human, what am I?" Kirch tells her, "Whatever you want to be." She gets to decide what she wants to be. And throughout the show, she will ask this question: what do I want to be? Human? Synthetic? Or something else entirely? I like this scene because it confirms how quickly Wendy can lose her empathy. She's a hybrid now, trying to figure out what she is. She tells Child Nibs Elsie that they can never go back home. No hesitation, no second thought of answering that question in a different way because she's a child. Instead, she answers the question firmly. Now, you could determine this like she is a stubborn kid or has a determined personality. When Wendy has made up her mind on something, she commits, and it's very hard for her to revert. Wendy promises slightly that she will be there as he transitions. Arthur Sylvia tells her to move, and she responds with,
"Go around."
Something as small as this is a hint to what's to come. Another great example is when Arthur is conducting an audiometry test on Wendy. The moment she notices Joe on like a far screen, she gets tunnel visioned. Nothing else matters now except going after Joe, making sure that he's safe. Literally the next scene, we see Kirch and Wendy walking up to Boy Cavalier to talk about Wendy's interest. Kirch tries to talk to Boy Cavalier and he's met with a resounding "not now." Kirch immediately gives up and tells Wendy it's time to go. Of course, Wendy is not going anywhere until she gets what she wants. At this point in the show, Wendy believes that the hybrids can't malfunction, they can't die, that they will live forever. Needless to say, this will change later on in the series, but for now, she is the forever girl. Continuing the scene, Boy Cavalier is surprised that Wendy is showing human characteristics. Again, Wendy fighting with the question, what am I? This whole season, the response to that question is, I'm human. I'm still here. I know this is set in the Alien universe 2 years before Nostromo, but I wish it wasn't, because Wendy's breaking point could be catastrophic for humanity. In the aircraft, Kirch has a conversation with Wendy about human evolution, the achievements of humanity. Humanity stopped being food, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. But at the end, humans are born, we live, and we die. Kirch has this conversation with Wendy because he is trying to get her to realize that even if she saves her brother, his death is inevitable, but also planting the idea of how inferior humanity really is. Wendy tells him that she will save her brother, hinting that she will figure out a way to transfer Joe's consciousness to a synthetic. Again, Wendy and her determination. She starts to display abilities that weren't given to her. Everyone is amazed how she can rewrite a code to a terminal connected to the Prodigy network. When getting off the aircraft, she starts hearing a buzzing that no one else seems to hear. Once Joe is found in the surveillance footage, she asks for the floor number, and once it's given to her, that becomes her number one priority. She doesn't listen to Kirch. She walks out of the tent. She indeed cannot follow orders.
You can follow orders, right?
Sir, yes, sir.
The strange noise is heard again, and this time it's a little louder. They finally find Joe, and the conversation is pretty interesting. Wendy is ecstatic that she found him, and the conversation about Mr. October starts. Sometimes the world gives you a moment to shine, and if you do, well, there's a name for that type of hero. Mr. October. I find this interesting because somewhere down the line, I'm expecting this to happen in season 2, possibly season 3, when her character arc makes a major shift. Wendy will have a moment like this where the world will give her a moment to shine, and she will have to decide between humanity or the xenomorphs. Again, this is just a theory, but I think this is a great opportunity. A layup even. She even said herself,
Mister?
could there be a Mrs. October later down the line? Or am I reading too much into it and this was just a way to add baseball into the mix because Joe and his father were watching highlight reels together? Wendy wants her brother to come with them. She makes any excuse possible to convince him.
There'll be loads of people there, bloody, wounded, exploded. We're going to the front section.
I'm glad Joe said yes, because if needed, Wendy would have knocked him out and just dragged him with her. Luckily, she said it nicely, and I think Joe here thought, I have better odds if I stay with these synths. Later, it's revealed to Joe that Wendy's actually Marcy. We get reminded that she was told that she was special.
Joe. Or I would die. They said I was special.
Again, physiologically, it helps to stay in an environment a little longer than you otherwise should have because you are constantly being treated and told that you are special. I still don't think my big toe looks like my thumb. Don't really have much to say about this scene, but I wanted to keep it in here. It's a moment that Joe realizes it's actually Marcy. It's shot very well, done very well. Wendy continues to hear the weird noises around her, hurting her head like she's got Spidey/Xeno senses. And then Joe gets taken by a xenomorph. The moment that happens, she actually sees the danger in front of her. Her brother gets taken, which was her priority, coming to the crash site to save her brother. She tells Slightly to guard the omelet and leaves him by himself. Monitor this, brain function boy cavalier, as she goes after the xenomorph. This just shows how she's willing to do anything and everything to keep her brother safe. She feels responsible for making her brother stay. He's supposed to be on Mars at a medical school. When she finally gets to her brother, Joe was clearly set up as a trap for Wendy. He's glued with a xenomorph substance to the wall, saying the famous Admiral Akbar lines, "For F's sake, don't come in here." And what does she do? She goes in there, proving my point that she gets tunnel vision sometimes, especially this early in her character arc. This scene was confusing the first time I watched it, but now that the other episodes have come out, there's an ambiguous answer to why the xenomorph didn't attack Wendy and Joe in that container. It's got them cornered, it's got an advantage, why did it back up? I think the xenomorph was confused about what Wendy is, because she could hear the frequency and is not scared of the xenomorph. She's showing no fear. She keeps walking forward and doesn't give the xeno enough time to assess the situation. So what does it do? It goes to the roof of the container and stands right over them. Doesn't attack, but again, is trying to sense what Wendy is. Ultimately is met with a paper cutter blade, but the xenomorph didn't attack first. If Wendy didn't attack, would the xenomorph go somewhere else? possibly respect her? Can she control a non-domesticated Xeno? But we all know how this ends. The Xenomorph dies off screen and Wendy takes damage. She's in recovery for the rest of the episode. When Wendy wakes up, she hears the strange noises again, starts walking in the direction that it's coming from. As she gets closer, she's met with the worst headache she's ever experienced in Neverland. Starts to hear the embryo screaming, calling for help. Eventually passes out. Wendy is curious to why she could hear their frequency. She believes that the Xenomorphs picked her, that they are talking to her. Wendy shows she's becoming more assertive. She wants to speak for herself.
No, I tell you who we should send back. Your brother.
Please don't.
Well, none of the others get to have brothers. I mean, what makes you so special?
I'm not special,
She is told what makes her so special by Boy Cavalier when in the first episode she was told that she was special by everyone. Dame, Kirch, and Boy Cavalier told her that she was special, and now she's hearing otherwise. This is a shift in her character. She realizes she was lied to and is left confused. Why am I being loyal? Should I stay faithful to these people? Should I trust Prodigy? Being lied to by Boy Cavalier in this situation is the first red flag for Wendy. Wendy has this respect for the creatures.
Crash, that was Utani's, and we took it, and they're mad. So they're probably asking the Five to step in and get their stuff back.
The creatures.
Yeah.
Important because it shows how Wendy cares about these organisms. She starts to develop compassion for these extraterrestrial life forms. Boy Cavalier wants her to go to the lab to communicate with the Xenomorph, but she also wants to go. She is just as curious as to why the Xenos picked her. The Xenomorphs make her feel special. She is the only one that can hear them. They picked her. Humans start to betray her, but the Xenomorphs won't. If there is anything that the Xenomorphs have shown throughout the Alien franchise, is that they are loyal to their colonies, loyal to their queens. This chestburster being born in front of her signifies the beginning of a more ominous relationship. Wendy starts to interact with the new Xenomorph, communicating and bonding with it. Joe meets her outside and Wendy again defends the creatures.
They didn't ask to come here.
Don't do that. You give them thoughts and feelings. They're killers.
So are we.
Bees do that. Ants do that. They have hives, systems, whole colonies.
It tried to kill us.
Not this one.
What if I don't want to leave, Joe? They chose me. What if I choose them? Wendy is flirting with the idea relating more to the specimens than humans. She realizes that Nib's memory has been tampered with. Nibs doesn't even recall going with Dame and Arthur to the lab. That's when Wendy gets suspicious.
Wendy. What did you do to her? Who? Nibs. She doesn't remember half the stuff we did this week. Not the crash, not the fighting.
And I think this is a major turning point for the mistrust in the people around her. Because sure, Boy Cavalier lied to her, but she recognizes that he is a conceited, narcissistic bastard. Dame, on the other hand, has been a mother figure to her. And when someone like that lies to you, she completely loses trust in Prodigy and, in a way, humanity.
Why don't we sit down?
He said stop pretending.
He said, are we people or are we something else? And he said, stop pretending to be people. And I think he's right.
This whole time, Kirch has been grooming her, preparing her to think a certain way about humanity. If this is what being human is, I don't want to be human anymore. And what is the thing she's been talking to this entire time as all of this is developing? She's been communicating and learning the language of the Xenomorphs, empathizing and having compassion for the creatures that didn't ask to come here. They are locked up, being studied and dissected. She realizes that just like the creatures in the lab, she's also an experiment. She's also being studied. Again, the question arises, do I want to be human? Am I still human? What am I? It's just this confusion that she's battling with, so desperately trying to hang on to this humanity, but why? All the suffering, all the pain, it can all go away if they stop the simulations. She needs to get out of this place. My brother was right. we need to escape. In the book Peter Pan, Wendy realizes she wants to leave Neverland because it's not the place she thought it was. It's not this utopia that she had envisioned. Sure, it's a place full of adventure, but it's dangerous. And if she stays here, she will lose the memories of her home and her parents. Wendy misses her family. She wants to grow up and wants to have a family of her own. And that is ultimately why Wendy and her brothers decide to leave Neverland. Back to Alien Earth, this Wendy is realizing very similar things. The Lost Boys are just an experiment. She is special because of the potential it brings humanity, not because of her. She just happened to be the first human to transition to a hybrid. Marcy's not special. Wendy is. When Boy Cavalier tells her, "What makes you so special, Wendy? Why do you get to have a family when the others don't?" That's when she realized that Marcy is not special. Only Wendy. Only the product that was created by Prodigy.
The unit you call your sister is the property of the Prodigy Corporation. She is a prototype for a transhuman product which, once refined, will create human immortality. This makes her the next evolutionary step between our animal past and our transhuman future.
She is still a human being.
No, she's not. Not anymore.
The final straw in not trusting Boy Cavalier and the people around her is when she sees dead Toodles laying in the containment lab. The Forever Girl is a little more vulnerable now. She needs to tell the Lost Boys, and of course Boy Cavalier doesn't want that. The guards don't let her leave, and then they realize, oh shoot, she can control the xenomorph. Then, of course, they let her go. Wendy finally realizes that her brother is right. She wants to leave with him, but wants to make sure that the Lost Boys come with her. Curly ends up staying, but Nibs ends up going with them. And this is where things start to turn for Wendy. There are clearly people in the containment lab, people just doing their jobs. Cleanup crews, soldiers, and scientists. She's shown throughout the show that she has compassion for things around her. But here, the safety of these people is no big deal. She knows they need a distraction for them to escape, but at the cost of all of the lives of those people in the laboratory. The first time a character makes a decision like this, it's supposed to be difficult. She didn't hesitate. And part of that is because she feels betrayed by the people around her. The empathy for humanity is outweighed by her empathy of the xenomorphs. This scene is great. It confuses the kids even more, seeing graves with their previous names on them. For Wendy, she just had a conversation with Dame about her name being Marcy.
This is a research facility filled with scientists. That's what we do. We study.
Like you study us.
Wendy.
That's not my name.
When she sees her grave, she continues to fight and hold on to her humanity.
It's not us. We're still here.
This also symbolizes a new chapter for Wendy because of her decision to release the xenomorph and endanger everyone around her. She's starting to become more reckless. Wendy discovers there's soldiers hiding in the jungle. She warns them by saying,
Leave.
Marcy, no.
Now.
the first time she made the decision to endanger people, those were people she was interacting with on a daily basis. So in this situation, it's a lot easier to let these soldiers get slaughtered. Her interaction with the xenomorph, being able to touch it again since its birth, it's just uncanny. Will she be able to do that with other xenomorphs? I think since she grew this xenomorph and learned the language in the process, she will be able to do it in the future and not necessarily have to interact with them from the very beginning. It gives the impression that Wendy will become something more than just a hybrid. The only person she cares about is her brother. So when her brother shoots Nibs, it's an act of betrayal. And later on, she will probably start blaming it on his humanity, speeding up the process of figuring out how to transfer Joe's consciousness to a synthetic. That way, he can lose those human emotions that she is seeing as weaknesses.
All this time, we've been afraid of them. But I think they should be afraid of us.
Wendy realizes that they have the power to take over. She messes with the comms and cameras. She takes down Boy Cavalier's feeds and disrupts the conversation with Courage. I thought she needed to touch the technology to rewrite the code. I guess she grew stronger and now is just a mobile jammer that can hack any Prodigy technology from a range. Wendy also starts to mess with Dame Sylvia, hacks her computers, and starts to play the recordings of the kids. She messes with the code of her own message message, making herself sound more paranoid. She even hacks the elevator.
Self-destruct sequence initiated. This elevator will explode in 30, 29, 28.
When I was first watching this, I said, who thought it was a good idea to implement a self-destruct mechanism on an elevator? But then I remembered that she can rewrite the code to anything, make things say whatever she wants them to say, making elevators say it has a bomb when in reality it doesn't. It's just a sequence to scare them. She basically controls anything that is connected to the Prodigy network. Makes the whole place a haunted house. Smee saved Joe Hermit in a way.
Yeah, because he killed someone.
He chose them.
Yeah, but he's one of us.
Wendy was clearly upset with her brother after what happened in the last episode, and Smee de-escalated the situation by giving her a hug. She later unlocks Joe and Morrow's cell, knowing that Morrow is going to cause mayhem. This whole episode, Wendy is the puppet master, just waiting for the right moment to strike. She's got the xenomorphs on standby and doing whatever with the Prodigy network while tormenting people. She lets Boy Cavalier get close, and then she unlocks the cell.
Maybe I did. Who can remember?
What's the story?
Surprising him that she can do that. Wendy then assigns everyone a task, and then she goes after her brother. We find out Joe Hermit's plot armor is not finished here. Wendy saves Joe from the T-Oculus, but then Adam steps in. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Adam is actually a synth. It's revealed in this episode. But anyways, he throws Wendy over a counter. He starts taking his jacket off, all cool, getting ready to fight Wendy, but in reality it doesn't matter because Wendy freezes him anyway. Another technology connected to the Prodigy network that she can manipulate. At this point, Wendy still cares about Joe. She's just really upset. Joe apologizes for shooting Nibs, tells Wendy that she was hurting his friend. Wendy misinterprets the conversation. You shot her because she's not human. Maybe you should call me it. Wendy is having this battle in her head where it's either us or them, meaning the Lost Boys or Prodigy. Wendy then explains why she likes the aliens.
They're honest.
They're predators. We're food to them.
No, you're food to them.
She still doesn't know exactly why she can hear the xenomorphs. They will probably explain this in the future. Wendy sends a xenomorph to go play hide and seek with Boy Cavalier, and eventually it waits for her to walk in. Prodigy soldiers show up because Boy Cavalier told them his general location, and Wendy just lets the xeno kill all of them. Again, all these soldiers are just doing their jobs. These are innocent people, and she has no remorse. Then Joe knocks Boy Cavalier out. They put all the adults in the cell. Wendy walks around to the front and tells Boy Cavalier that she's got him figured out. He's not Peter Pan, you're just an angry little man. The Lost Boys get behind her. Curly asks her, what do we do now? Wendy looks at the xenomorph on the top left that also has the newborn xenomorph hanging on the cage. And then she says, now we rule. Animal starts playing, and that's the end of season 1. She chose the specimen over Prodigy. And if my predictions are right, she will choose the xenomorphs over humanity, which in a way she's already done. I want to see it be done with the entire human race, not just a corporation. They have a great opportunity here. Since all of these characters are a part of Prodigy, Wendy losing her humanity could be a great explanation to why we never hear about the company Prodigy in the first place. I could see people being mad at this ending because no major character died except for Toodles and Arthur. Even Arthur kind of in a way gets back up because of the T-Oculus. If this doesn't get a season 2, it would definitely be a disappointment. I'm hoping it does because right now this is just a unfinished, unsatisfying conclusion. This season was just setting up Weyland-Yutani to come and retrieve their creatures. If season 2 does get greenlit, it's going to be Weyland-Yutani versus Wendy and the Lost Boys. I am a little worried for the future of Alien Earth because Wendy is becoming a Mary Sue character. I'm sure they're aware of it. She can control the xenomorphs and has the Prodigy network at the palm of her hand. I think Wendy's breaking point is when someone either kills Joe or Joe betrays her in such a way that will make her lose faith in humanity, where Joe realizes that Marcy is no longer human and he goes to a corporation for help. It can't be as simple as he tased Nibs because his friend was going to die, and has to be substantial. If my own brother will do that to me, how can I trust anybody else? Combine this with the fact that killing innocent people is not even a minor inconvenience for Wendy. I think that is why Wendy becomes the real monster in Alien Earth, at least for season 1. And I'm hoping, crossing my fingers here, that we do get a season 2, because again, this would be a major disappointment, huge cliffhanger. They just decided to keep all of the characters. I understand from the very beginning that they were trying to set Alien Earth for multiple seasons. The way this ended was a unsatisfied season finale. So hopefully they fix that in future seasons. But yeah, that's all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll talk to you in the next one.
That doesn't make
Peace.
sense.